Next, I want to talk about Journal of the American Medical Association. There we go. This is a journal that I received, and that's a painting by Paul Klee, K-L-E-E, who died in 1940. He was a Swiss painter and a part of the modern expressionist movement. Actually, let me see what movement they call him. He is with Kandinsky, Chagall, those people who paint Picasso. Let's see, Paul Klee was a professor of art at Dusseldorf when the Nazi Party came to power, accused of being a Galician Jew whose works were degenerate, the 54-year-old professor. Okay, so it tells about him. I don't have time to read all of this, but let's see if I can quickly find out what school he was from. The avant-garde group Der Blau Reiter, Blue Writer. Yes, I've heard of that group. It's a takeoff on tribal art, the art of children, and the art of people labeled insane. Musical Cubism, it was called. His friends included Walter Gropius, later of the Bauhaus, and the name of that painting was In the Magic Mirror. Well, anyhow, this is a standard medical journal that I read. And no, I don't read it cover to cover. I read it to see what I can get out of it, and some things catch my eye and other things don't catch my eye. So, for instance, as a cardiologist, here's an article on risk of heart attack with the use of rosiglitazone. Rosiglitazone has been taken off the market, so that's not really much of an, I think that's been taken. No, maybe that's the one that's still on the market. It's a member of the diabetic medications called TZDs, and I think that may be the name for Avandia. I liked the group Actos, and I never used Avandia unless a patient came to me, and then I sort of gradually took them off, because when you looked at what the cholesterol and triglycerides were when one used Avandia compared to one used Actos, my preference was to go with Actos, which I thought did a better job. Cold medications risky for children. Here's that article. That says, oh, by the way, now stay right there, stay right there. I got to get my jacket in here. Do you know who I am? I am H. Robert Silverstein, MD. And we tried to get this set up so that would be big enough for you to read. So there it is. There it is. Big enough for you to read, and I keep my pen here so I look like I'm professional. By the way, so back to this, and then we'll get to my clothes today. There are my clothes. Oops. There's my clothes. This is a shirt that was made in Romania. Everywhere you're hearing about Romania these days. It's by Ermenegildo Zegna, Z-E-G-N-A, Zegna, an Italian clothing manufacturer, one of the better ones. And the tie is by Louis Vuitton. And I was told that I'm colorblind. And so I was told that I did a great job at picking out this tie to go with this shirt, because the shirt's a light purple and the tie is a dark purple in there. And so I'm looking like Mr. Cool. I'd like to show you my boots. It's still winter time. Today is March 11th, and it's a little nicer. It's mid-40s today, but it ain't summertime or even late spring, what I call spring summer. It's winter spring, which means it's still plenty crisp. But anyhow, this article, which says cold medications risky for young children. Now, I didn't read this article, but I can tell you what I know. They probably are talking about medications that contain decongestants. And I don't recommend decongestants for anyone. I don't recommend Claritin D. I don't recommend Actifed. And I've said those kinds of things on this program. If it ends in D, like Actifed, which implies Sudafed, those contain decongestants. I do not recommend decongestants. Decongestants work by squeezing blood vessels in the nose, and that's what sort of stops things from running. Now, when my patients come in, I also let them know it squeezes blood vessels in other locations in some people. There are no hard and fast rules for everybody. So, as a cardiologist who's interested in blood vessels not being squeezed, I do not recommend the use of Actifed and Sudafed and ephedra and those things that contain phenylpropanolamine, phenylethanolamine, pseudoephedrine, and that's it. And I suspect that is what is behind the increased risk on these cough medicines. And just to let you know, it was found out that buckwheat honey, not clover honey, not other kinds of honey, and maybe they would work, but that's not known, that buckwheat honey was as good as commercial cough medications in suppressing coughs. Antioxidant overload. Now, this is another one of the issues. I have not even read this one yet. If I had, I'm sort of doing this show like a blind date. So you get to see sort of how I look at things. This is all of 1, 2, 3 paragraphs long, and obviously I can't sit here and read this, but it talks about an overabundance of natural antioxidants can lead to heart failure in mice who carried a certain kind of genetic predisposition. And they said accumulation of certain proteins leads to the heart dysfunction. Cardiomyopathy is like a flabby. A heart is supposed to be relatively vigorous, but a cardiomyopathy heart sort of doesn't squeeze well and doesn't squeeze vigorously, except for one particular type which overdoes it and squeezes too tight. But it's talking about here, scoring high animals were under due to abundance. They found that the animal hearts were under reductive stress due to an abundance of natural antioxidant known as glutathione. And glutathione is like very helpful for people with lung disease. It's a natural antioxidant. It's considered to be one of the most effective antioxidants. In fact, you can even buy glutathione to take over the counter. Overactivity of this pathway produced excess level of reduced glutathione, a condition of reductive stress. Well, I have said from the beginning that whatever supplement you're taking, I'm not sure they're safe. So the point being, we should try to get all of our foods out, all of our vitamins out of the diet as best possible. Our vitamin D we should get from the sun, but not too much, not too little. I know people who go to the beach during the summer and they come back with literally perfect vitamin D levels. It's important to get a vitamin D level of approximately 80, and I only have like half a dozen patients in my practice who have gotten to those kinds of high levels. But what this says is, if you have a genetic predisposition, yes, it also says, and if you have a genetic predisposition and you are a mouse, that you can get this kind of cardiomyopathy. But they do these kinds of studies, not to generalize over to the human race, but to find out whether or not such may be applicable. And that's why I think one should not take vitamins on a daily basis, give the body a few days to clean things out, take what I call Wednesday and the weekend off. Oops, interruption, time out. I discuss that at great length in my book, Wednesday and the Weekend Off. This is my book, Maximum Healing. No, this is not a health promo, but I want you to know right outside in my car, I have 12 of 24 books that Whole Foods has requested and bought from our office, and I am just so tickled pink that we sold 24 books to Whole Foods here in West Hartford. I consider Hartford and West Hartford the same. But there's my little picture on the back, me smiling with some whole wheat pasta in my pocket and some bunch of vegetables down here in front of me. And this is my Maximum Healing book. See that? H. Robert Silverstein, MD, Fellow of the American College of Cardiology. No, I'm not trying to hype my book, but if you have questions, you can go to our website, check it out, and then decide whether or not you are interested.